Permanency planning hearing and a trial on a petition for termination of parental rights. I've had the pleasure of a sidebar with our attorneys, and I will let them update the record on that after appearances.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Ariel Berger here as the guardian ad litem.
Nastasia Thomas, counsel for the department.
Caitlin Young, Department of Health and Human Services.
Elias Muwad appearing on behalf of mother Bailey Damansky.
Damansky, if you could.
Bailey
Sorry,
Damansky,
go ahead.
the mother of Braden Schmidt.
Thank you so much. All right, comments about the sidebar?
Your Honor, I think that all parties are in agreement. But one of the main reasons we had adjourned this termination of parental rights hearing back in January, the end of January, was to try to get a second psychological evaluation completed to determine whether there had been benefit from services provided that mother could not exercise parenting time to demonstrate that for proofs as relates to the petition to terminate her parental rights. To my understanding, that has been scheduled. Mr. Muwad was able to accomplish that and get her the ability to go out and do that in May. So we do not have that information back yet. So it was my understanding that we are still going to ask to move forward with a review hearing and then continue the termination hearing to a later date.
Mr. Muwad, anything
Yeah.
you'd like to add to that?
No, that is true. Just a quick question. Bailey, when is your out date at the jail? Just a quick question.
My out date is June 8th at midnight.
Okay, that's all I needed to know. Other than that, Judge, everything's true and accurate.
Ms. Berger?
I have nothing to add.
Very good. All right, so then for today's purposes, my understanding is we'll just do the review and essentially just adjourn the termination trial to be held with the next review.
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, Ms. Berger, whenever you're ready with your report.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I was able to visit virtually with the minor child during this reporting period and talk with his caregiver several times. He is still growing like a weed. He's in the 97th percentile for height and weight. He actually hasn't been as sick lately, which is good because he generally is a sick little kid. He was diagnosed with asthma and I think allergies. And with those medications, he seems to be sick a lot less. So he does have some albuterol if needed for his asthma. And I think Zyrtec is what he's taking for those allergies. So those seem to have helped a lot with kind of his ongoing issues with being sick a lot. Placement reports, I haven't heard from dad at all. So the child has not had contact or visits with either parent at this time, but he has been reevaluated. So he might be starting OT in August. We might be able to get him on an IEP. So he's ready for preschool, but he's just kind of having some transitional issues that they've noticed, like going from, young toys like infant toys or, or toddler toys to like toys that would be more age appropriate for him. He's not really liking those transitions, but they might be able to address those with OT. So that is a positive for him. But otherwise he tested out early on. He's developmentally on track in all of those other areas.
Witness testimony today, Ms. Thomas.
Thank you, Your Honor. If Ms. Young can please be sworn in.
Ms. Young.
Your Honor, I will be asking placement to testify today. I don't know if we want to sequester or not.
Your Honor, I don't have a reason to sequester only because I know that by court rule placement is permitted to look at the court report. So I'm not sure that there's anything that would be put on the record that is not already.
Yeah, I don't have an objection, Judge. Fine.
Perfect, thank you.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Ms. Young. Today there is a court report that you have provided, and it looks like it's only inclusive of the court report and the case service plan. Is that accurate?
That is it.
And since you circulated and filed this court report and case service plan, have there been any other documents that you have received or circulated that you would like the court to consider for today's hearing?
I have not circulated it yet because I just got it from my office. It was something that was sent over to my office from Ms. Damansky from the jail. There is the signed case service plan that we reviewed last week during a meeting. And then she sent over copies of her certificate of completion for different classes that she's had access to on the tablet, from my understanding. So,
Okay. I'm guessing there's not a copy for everyone right now.
at this time, no. I will email that out to everybody so everybody has a copy. It's just I wanted to make sure that I brought it along to show that yes, she has been completing some of these classes and this is what she provided.
Can you go through the documents that you have, please? And can you please state, we know that there's a signed case service plan. So other than that, can you please go through each document for the certificate of completion?
Yes, there's
State
several of
headers.
them. So So she did provide a proof of incarceration with the dates of when she entered jail and then her expected out date. There was the proof of service that I sent over, a copy of the court report. She had sent over the signed case service plan. There's a certificate for adult and child CPR, disease of corrections. And then it also has basic first aid, blood-borne pathogens and HIV, cognitive awareness, becoming a world famous mentor, becoming a new career, beyond email, becoming tech savvy, budgeting fundamentals, forklift safety, bed bug protection tips, budgeting variances, forecasts and action plans, creativity, cover letters, choosing the best solution, contentious relationships, careers without college, domestic abuse, employment, critical thinking and decision-making, electrical safety, grammar, digital media literacy, job search and networking, managing stress, career experiences, honest jobs, interviewing skills, and offender responsibility.
Quite the list of accomplishments. Okay, thank you for that. And do you have electronic copies? So if we provided those to the court today, those could still be circulated?
I have not scanned them in because I just got them in the mail from,
Okay, that's
they
fine.
were sent over from Friday. I wasn't in the office Friday.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. All right. And at this point in time, mother still remains incarcerated.
That is correct.
And the child is still with paternal relative placement?
Correct.
And based on the current circumstances, do you still believe that there is a risk of harm to the child if the court were to release the child back into the mother's care and custody today?
I do, yes.
And briefly, what is that risk of harm?
At this time, because of her incarceration, as well as the court suspending visitation May of last year, she has not had a relationship with that child outside of writing letters to him. She's had no face-to-face interaction, no phone calls. All of that has been previously suspended prior to her incarceration. So at this time, there would be a risk of harm because he would not necessarily recognize that mother-child bond that they might have previously had. They would need to work on that relationship.
And currently, the goal for the child is adoption.
That's correct.
And what reasonable efforts have been made towards the goal of adoption?
Obviously, we've been working with the relative placement who would be considered for that adoption process if reunification efforts were not successful. They are licensed through a private agency who offers adoption services, so we would be connecting with them once a decision would be made on termination.
And during this review period, what services have continued to be made towards the goal of reunification?
Well, at this time, I try to maintain at least monthly contact with Ms. Damansky, or at least I try to arrange for contact. She does provide letters for the minor child, so I do give those to placement when I go out to their home for my monthly home visits. And we do try to have a good conversation about different classes that she's completing, what she has access to. And as I read off that list, there's quite a list of things that she has been able to access and participate in. So, I mean, at this time, that's what she has access to. We were working on trying to see if parenting education would be included on there and some additional things, but they're not on there quite yet. But she does, as I noted, and there are a significant amount of things that she has participated in, which is good. We do want to see, kind of the results of the psychological evaluation that I was able to get referred. It was kind of a fight to get it set up. We were battling back and forth with Battle Creek, with the counseling agency that arranges that. We had to go through the Hillsdale County DHS to set that up, but we were able to secure that. I let Mr. Mawad know when the date was, and he made arrangements for Bailey to be transported to and from by her grandparents.
Generally, how is the child doing in placement?
He's doing very well. As Ms. Berger had stated, that he does have some transitional issues. He's kind of in that 2-year-old stage where he's kind of naughty at times, but they do a really good job at redirecting him. We did have an incident in the home where he was taking a bath and he inhaled water and was choking, so they did have to seek emergency services to try to assist with that. But they were able to manage that situation as a unit, and they did very well handling at that. I was able to communicate with them about kind of the incident and what happened. We were a little concerned with the asthma and the breathing issues with him being sick over that long period of time. So they were able to seek medical attention. He got that diagnosis of asthma, so he does have that series of treatment. It sounds like it's gonna be more long-term treatment and then evaluated as needed, but overall, he's doing very well. His needs are all being met in the home, medical, dental, educational, all of those needs are being met. And as Ms. Berger stated, he's going to be evaluated for potential IEP in the future because he did qualify for early on services and completed that. That would potentially qualify him in the future for additional services when he does become of age for grade school. So they are working and enrolling him in a preschool setting so that way he can continue to work on those educational skills. I will note when I was out there this last week visiting, he is doing phenomenal at sounding out more and more words. He can count to 10 and he was able to do that with his face mask. He was trying to mimic putting it up to everybody's faces and counting to 10 at everybody. And he was doing really well. He's happy, he's giggling, he's very energetic. When this kid is awake, he is nonstop chasing grandpa around the house, and when he's at work, he's chasing grandma around the house. So, you know, they're always interacting, doing something hands-on. They have backyard where they're able to play. They've got lots of toys that he has access to, a lot of hands-on things where he can do painting or coloring, that kind of stuff. Mom does send letters and she draws pictures for him. So he's able to color in those pictures and whatnot every month or more often when I get those. So, you know, he is doing very well. He's very well adjusted to the home. He's on the go. He's constantly trying to learn new things. Like I said, he's improving in his speech greatly. Sometimes it's still a little hard to understand what he's saying, but he's still young. So, but he's getting there. He's doing very well compared to prior reporting periods as far as speech wise. So he's really thriving where he's at.
Is he receiving any sibling visits? I know that he has half siblings from dad and from mom.
He is receiving visits as far as on dad's side with the other minor children who reside with their mom. I know there has been some attempts to try to reach out to the other half sibling who used to be part of this case, but they have not been successful in getting in contact. So we had the same trouble when they were on the case and trying to engage. So, you know, I just encourage us to kind of keep trying to engage and try to establish a continued relationship.
And is there any time that the child's able to spend with any maternal relatives, extended relatives, or anything like that?
I do know the maternal grandmother does come over on occasion, so she's able to come and visit and spend an afternoon or a couple of hours with Braden. They do spend some holiday time together. She brings, for instance, like she brought birthday gifts or Christmas gifts for him, Easter stuff. So she does have a good involvement with the family and with Braden. So they're able to communicate and set that time up and pretty regularly. So.
Okay. Judge, may I just ask for clarification today? Are we looking at permanency planning, or is that just going to be?
What's that for permanency planning to?
Because with the documents that you've been provided and sort of this continued drawing out of the process as relates to terminating Ms. Damansky's parental rights so that the child could be adopted, do you believe that there's a sufficient change in circumstances to reconsider that goal?
I think a lot of it is going to be dependent on what the second psychological is going to state. In the first one, I mean, it really indicated some pretty significant things that she needed to try to address. I know she attempted to do some of the stuff through anger management. She did some parenting education. They did the supervised visitations. But right now, the minor child is the same age approximately of the other child that was severely injured in that original case. So, there are how would she handle some of these situations? And I talk to placement often when I'm out there, in some of these instances where in the last reporting period, I talked about the incident where he had smeared it everywhere. How would that situation have been handled? Would that have been in the same manner as placement had tried to work together to try to handle that situation, or would we be dealing with a different matter? It's unknown. And it was brought to my attention too, and I kind of looked back at the report too, just to kind of get a reflection back on that mental health piece. There was some potential underlying anxiety and possible anxiety attacks that she was dealing with. So I do want to kind of look at that a little bit more and see, are those needs being met? How is she addressing that and moving forward? Like, what kind of things are gonna be put into place to safeguard the child in the event that she's having some sort of anxiety episode. You know, because those can be pretty traumatic and not just for the child, but for her as well.
So as it stands today, I'm trying to summarize what I just heard. Is it fair to say that today your position is there's been nothing presented to you that would make you have a different opinion about the goal for adoption?
At this time, no. I mean, with the significance of the charges, she's facing the jail time and she'll be out June 8th. And like I said, we do have that psychological that will give us a little bit more of an insight as to, you know, what the doctor has seen previously and where he sees her at right now, and make that determination if there should be some changes as far as looking back and exploring reunification or not.
The court has to consider a compelling reason not to, and we're kind of beyond this because we filed the petition for termination. But at any point in time, I guess the court can consider compelling reasons not to entertain that petition. Are there compelling reasons not to entertain it as it stands today?
I can't think of anything as at this moment. I mean, I will note that she has been very compliant with me. She's always been very pleasant, but that's also always in a supervised setting. So, you know, you don't know what happens behind closed doors, and you may never know fully what happened, but there's got to be a sense of accountability as well, and having some more open and honest discussions about what truly happened in that incident, because I don't think we've ever really gotten that full story.
And this child is, the child's been in care for 2 years, right?
That's correct.
And the child is 2.5, right?
A little bit over 2 years ago,
So for essentially his entire life, he's been in care.
approximately, yes.
Do you believe it's reasonable for him to wait an additional X amount of months or a year for Ms. Damansky to be able to establish herself outside of jail? So stable housing, employment, transportation, compliance with mental health services, medication compliance, parenting time, child bond development. Is that fair for this child?
I think that would be asking a lot, because, I mean, I think everybody here understands that takes a good amount of time to really get reestablished with a bond and reestablished with a routine. Right now, yes, she is incarcerated, but when she gets out, my understanding, she can be residing back with her grandparents next to the minor child. She does have her own transportation. She would need to re-secure employment. I mean, because it's not guaranteed that where she was working at before is where she's going to be able to go back to because of the length of time she's been gone. So, you know, there are some factors that I mean, she does have good supports to her family. I'm not going to deny that. They've always been very supportive and everything, both sides of the family. So, you know, there are good supports for both the child and mom.
Okay.
Not going to deny that, but I think we really kind of need to take into consideration the age of this child, the length of time he has been in care, and is it realistic? I don't know necessarily with the length of time that it would take to reestablish it on that would be realistic at this time.
Thank you. Your Honor, I have no further questions of Ms. Young. I move to admit the court report and the case service plan. I'm going to ask to hold off on the admission of the certificates of completion until we're able to provide a hard copy to the court, but I know that the record will now reflect that at least those are received and we acknowledge them.
I have also what looks like it's been provided in a copy of a March 7th, 2024 order documenting that Bailey Damansky will be released for purposes of the psychological evaluation and some emails attached. Did you want that to become part of the record?
Judge, I believe that Mr. Malad is the one who had provided that, so I'll leave that to him. We definitely are not denying that exists. We are very grateful for the work that's put in to secure that order.
No objection to the court report.
Number one.
Objection.
Okay, the court report is received. Cross-examination, Mr. Mawad?
You know, I'm gonna the issue of the psychological report, obviously, until we get it. And I appreciate your honesty that you are interested in looking at that. The one issue that keeps popping up is the length of time. And I know I've asked you this before. Obviously, it's not involved. If there's reunification, you could have her start off as supervised visitation and slowly integrate mom into the child's life, right?
Yeah, that could be possible. I mean, if that's something that the courts would like to explore, then absolutely, you could look into that if that is in the best interest of the child.
Right,
Um, so-
as you would agree that everybody's waiting to see the psychological, to see if she did benefit from a lot of these services, correct?
Correct.
Okay, Judge, I appreciate your honesty. I don't have any more questions. That's all I have.
Do you think starting mom back out at minimal visitation is in the child's best interest, given the length of time it would take to get to reunification?
It's really kind of tough to say without, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of communication outside of those letters, just in this past year alone. So I think it would be very challenging. I think it would need to be in more of a therapeutic supervised setting if that were to be something that was found to be in his best interest. I mean, I don't know if I could necessarily make that judgment call without consulting with, you know, a therapist that would be able to, you know, kind of explore that further and would be willing and able to provide that guidance through a therapeutic setting.
And at this point, how long has the child been in care again?
A little over 2 years. It was, I think, March of 2022.
Thank you.
Any redirect?
No, Judge.
Thank you for your testimony. We return to your seat. Any other witnesses?
No, Judge.
Anyone you'd like us to hear from today, Mr. Mawad?
Not today, Judge. Thank you for offering.
Ms. Berger?
Yes, Your Honor, Elizabeth Schmidt, I believe she's in the hallway.
Very good. Schmidt, come on up for a witness stand.
Right hand. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I swear.
Be careful with the step there.
You can say and spell your name.
My name is Elizabeth Schmidt, Elizabeth. Last name is Schmidt, Schmidt.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Hi, Elizabeth?
Yes, I might be a little shaky, but I can hear you.
Okay. Elizabeth, how are you familiar with the parties in this case?
Are you meaning Bailey Damansky?
Yep, and Aaron Schmidt.
Bailey Damansky is the woman who hurt my son, JS, and Aaron Schmidt is my ex-husband.
Okay, and do you have any parenting time orders with Aaron Schmidt right now?
No, ma'am, he has not seen our 3 kids since the morning of March 17th, 2022.
Over 2 years? Have you heard from him at all?
I have, yes, last year. He had left the home that him and I had when we had gotten our divorce, and I had to go, I guess you should say, fix it up and sell it back. I was at risk of being sued after because he had left the home with money still owing onto it. That was July of last year, 2023. And after that, I had asked him if there was going to be ever a day in his heart that he'd want to be a father again, or seem to think that he'd be able to, and it's never been a thought after. But other than that, we've not had any connection.
Okay. How did it come about that Ms. Damansky was with your child, JS?
I had gotten my rights back to my kids August of 2021, I'm sorry, it's been a couple of years. And Aaron Schmidt had his, I wanna say it was his, I don't know how to say it. It was his hearing to get his rights back. It was December 29th, I wanna say. He had gotten his rights back to our kids and we were on a week on, week off basis. And of March 17th, 2022, my kids were all in Bailey Damansky and my ex-husband's care.
Okay, and were they in a romantic relationship?
From what I was presented to, yes, she wore a ring, she lived at the home, she was presented as a stepmotherly figure to my kids. She was at every single pickup and drop off. She was the only person taking my kids during his time to doctor's appointments because he worked during the day. She was the one that provided most of their meals. Other than that, that's really what I know. I've never had a one-to-one sit down with her. Through all the times that I had asked during the times that they were in their care, all the times that we were having a shared custody, I've never met her in my life.
Okay. Walk us through the events that happened on March 17th, 2022 and the days after.
I wasn't expecting that part, sorry.
It's okay.
March 17th, 8:17 in the morning, I had gotten a phone call from my son's teacher, Miss Alyssa. She had asked me if it was mine or dad's time, and I obviously told her, you know, whose time it was because I didn't drop my kids off. And she explained to me that she had called CPS and I needed to hurry and get there and to take my son to the pediatrician's office and that they were very concerned. I live maybe 5 minutes away. It took me maybe 2 to get there. I walked in and they presented me a child in a face mask with swelled up golf ball on the left mastoid bone behind his neck. He had preorbital ecchymosis, which is bruising on both sockets of the eyes and temporal bones. I had immediately took him to the pediatrician's office, and in return, he followed me straight to Charles Hickman Center. He would not touch his head at all. It was too swollen at this point, and his bruisings were already starting to get more visibly darker. By this time, we had gotten to the hospital. They called the Blissfield Police Department because the crime happened there. They took him in for a full body CT and X-ray. They were asking me questions about what had happened. What happened? I don't know.
They were lengthy criminal and CPS investigation, is that right?
Yes, it was a year and 6 months it took. A year and 6 months just to be found out that she was charged only 10 months. May 10th, I find out if my son's deemed disabled by the state of Michigan.
May 10th of this year?
Yes, we had to file for disability. Insurance has decided that if he's deemed disabled, that they're not gonna be paying for some of his bills. I had got sent a letter in the mail last year in December.
Would that qualify him to receive social security disability?
Yep. He has substantial PTSD, behavioral and developmental delays. He's 5 years old. He has the mind of a 3-year-old. It's almost like he's stuck in time. His neurologist right now is the main one taking care of all of his care. I have decided to not treat my son like a pharmacy clinic. He has been on one stable medication since February to help with his sleep. He has subchorionic night terrors at night. So what it might look like to somebody else is that he is up screaming, crying, hitting himself, but he's sleeping. In return, that's sleepless nights for him. That's also rough behaviors for him because he's lacking sleep. And the clonidine has helped a lot with that. We still do have a U of M appointment scheduled for this upcoming January with the developmental department to see how we can try to alleviate that. I've had the hardest time finding general care for him because, again, my son is too young. Everywhere, you're not going to find a lot of counseling services that will see kids under the age of 8, let alone any kind of psych or neurological care. It's definitely been a long road, and we're still up for an even longer one.
Did he exhibit any of these behaviors or concerns prior to the incident on March 17th?
The only thing that Jonah really considered or even showed beforehand was just his speech. Jonah had a hard time forming up certain words, let alone talking. But even before then, we had already spent a year, me and my ex-husband, their dad, in probate court ourselves, trying to get everything situated. So that pretty much came with time. That was something that we were already trying to overcome and heal from our own faults. And when his injury happened, it kind of took him for a loop. And
would you say that he was on track developmentally prior to the injury? And since then, how has that changed?
well, I had to pull him from school November 18th of 2023. His teacher would refuse to call me. I walked in and found him sitting in the corner with only his diaper and a sock on. My son has a really hard time of building relationships with people. He has a really bad separation attachment with me, and his brother started kindergarten this year, and his brother has been in school with him past 2-3 years ever since they've been in my care. And I had also switched a job, and that was a lot of change for Jonah at one time. And under the Adrian school policy, if your child is in their care and they're having a bad day, they will not call you because it shows that they cannot handle your child. So in return, when I had talked to the supervisor and I had voiced my concerns, with them not being able to prioritize certain children, I had taken my son out because it was to the point that he wasn't able to sit and actually learn. He was either in a corner playing with 1 or 2 toys and not actually being able to do the task that was at hand.
What school does he go to now?
He is homeschooled with me.
How's that going?
Well, I can say he's potty trained. He knows his full ABCs and he'll sing it to you till the bells go off.
I bet.
He can count up to 20. He messes up numbers 15 and 16, but we're working on that. Alphabetically, he is sound. He does get a few letters mixed up. The only thing we're having the hardest time right now with is writing, but his pediatrician said that's kind of normal with his fine motor skills, which thankfully we're getting that adjudicated, so.
Is he in OT or PT?
So that's one that I'm getting figured out. Friday, I have an appointment to go over the consultation with his pediatrician about his PTSD. And he's supposed to be giving me a referral for IV. So I'm hoping that that's solid. And if he don't do that, I'm going to his neurologist for that part. When it's with Jonah, we've been trying to tackle one thing at a time the past couple of months. And really, we've been trying to just hit the neurologist because his neurology is taking care of his behavioral and his sleep right now. And that's really the one thing we're having the hardest time with. Because for 6 to 7 months, Jonah was going for maybe 2 to 4 hours of sleep a night. It was up all night, insomnia, night terrors, and that was the one main thing that we had to kind of nick in the butt first, especially for his behaviors, because that really attributed into a big part of it.
Yeah, so you said a referral for IV, is that IV rehab?
Yes, sorry.
Nope, that's okay. Would you ever leave your children with Mr. Damansky again?
Back then, I didn't have a choice. I wouldn't even have to think about that. I've sat in this courtroom many times. I've listened to these hearings many times, and the one thing that we all try to focus on is what was in the best interest of my children. That meant nothing to her. It meant nothing to her. She was with my ex-husband, watching everything that we had went through that whole year. Everything that he was working towards for our kids, I was, and when my kids had finally been able to be reunified back into his life, back into our life, I personally don't think she was ready to take that on. I really don't. She already had 2 children of her own. Who was she to bring in another 3 that she really didn't understand or love, appreciate? You can't force that on people. You can't implement being a mother to somebody that you bear no communication to, no livelihood to. So when you can only imagine when I sat through her criminal case and I heard that she was just a babysitter, that threw me for a loop. Because just January this year, I heard her last hearing and the testimonials about how she was a very good stepmother and how she was always happy with my children. And that's a complete different notion than what I heard last year. Because I don't remember hearing that part. I remember how I heard how she was a good babysitter and a person to take care of my children when their father was at work. But I don't see a loving stepmother. I see somebody who hurt my son for the rest of his life. And I really don't think I could stomach seeing her get her son back. Her son is literally the same age that mine was. And I can't trust that. And he's not even mine. I can't.
Your other children have gotten quite a bit older since this incident has happened, is that right?
Yes, they have.
Have they started talking more about what happened that night, or that day?
I've learned that trauma is like a curve. You either stay on the straight line or you hit the narrow 100%. And my kids have blocked out seamlessly every part about that time, that day. Jonah does not remember at all who his father is. He doesn't know the situation. Bella and Liam, they don't ask questions. If they're playing with Jonah and per se they're outside and they trip and fall, oh no, we need to check Jonah's head. That's always something that lives with my kids. We need to be careful. If he falls and gets hurt, we have to go to the hospital. His brain, that's something that lives with my kids. My kids have to live on the ever so going teeter-totter of, well, what if he gets hurt? What do we do? Or if they're playing, what happens if I accidentally hurt my brother? Did I hurt him? And that's no way that my other 2 children should have to live either. But here we are. They've had to see a lot of things after already being healed from our own life and our own circumstances. And here we are. We're healing every day. And I haven't even found everything out about my son yet. My son is still too young. And he'll probably never be able to speak for himself. My son has slept with me every single night the past 2 years, 5 weeks, 4 days we've been doing this. And we've been doing this a lot longer than that. And it If everybody knows what's in the child's best interest, I don't see why we're even here today.
Do you have anything else that you want to share today?
I really believe that Braden is the safest, the happiest and the healthiest that I have ever seen with Tanya and Glenn. Whenever that my kids and I have went over, it is nothing but pure joy on his face. They have opened up their hearts, their lives, their times, and in no shape or form have I ever seen harrowing, weathering. They've never called in a flag or called for a break. They've never said, we can't do this today or for a week. It's been 2 years that Braden has learned to love these people as their parents. And I don't want to see that go away. Because if Braden ends up leaving their care and goes back to her, my kids will never see him again.
And they get to see each other now, right?
Yeah. It's few and far between. We do live an hour and 5 minutes away. I work full time. It's very hard.
A lot going on.
I don't collect child support. I'm sure everybody understands the ex parte and how that goes in Michigan. So I have to work my butt off, a couple extra harder than some people mostly. But I try. But the times that we do go out, it's amazing. My kids understand that they have a sibling out there and they love that. And I know that if he got reunified back with Bailey, my kids would never be a part of his life.
I don't have any other questions for you, but some of the other attorneys might, okay?
Ms. Thomas, any questions?
I have no questions, but I do want to thank you for coming up and being vulnerable. I know that it's really hard to sort of relive all of this. I know that you've had to deal with this before in the past, but it's very helpful for the whole process when you have more information. So thank you for being here today.
I've learned that sometimes when you've lacked a lot of support, when you've needed it, sometimes when people need an extra footing, you need to just take it. If something that I have to say is able to save a child when my child's life couldn't have been saved, I'm willing.
Mr. Mawad, any questions?
Judge, just a couple. For the record, hold on 1 minute. I gotta shut my door. I'm sorry. Hold on. Sorry about that. All right. Ms. Schmidt, I didn't meet you personally at the sentencing. I did hear your words in your statement. From what I'm hearing is that part of your equation into saying what you want to say today is because you're afraid that Brandon will be taking away, you believe that Bailey will not allow Brandon to see your kids anymore, right? That's what you just said, correct?
No, that's not what I mean.
Well, you just said
I
that.
personally couldn't do that.
No, that's not my question, and I'm not here to argue with you. I'm not denying a lot of your testimony about the injuries to your son. One of the last things you just said is that you have a concern that if Bailey gets Braden back, that you believe that Ms. Damansky is going to keep Braden from seeing your kids. So that's what you just said, right?
No, I didn't say that. I said that my kids would probably never be able to see him. I didn't say that she would keep Braden. I said that my kids would probably never be able to see them.
And that's a concern of yours, right? When you're giving your opinion today to the court, correct?
Yeah.
All right. And as far as the problems that the child is having, and I'm certainly not disputing some of your testimony relating to your son, but as far as the mental health and the disabilities that he's suffering, that's not because of what happened from Ms. Damansky, correct?
Yes, it is.
Well, how do you know that?
Well, I'm the one that has taken him to every single appointment in 2 years. And I'm also the one that provided all of the evidence in her actual case upstairs. I was specifically told, one, by CMH when they ruled out autism, that it was by the non-accidental head injury. Two, the
Well, let me hold
ecchymosis.
on. Let me cut you off right there. Let's talk about autism. Why was autism even a part to play in this? Who brought up autism?
Well, like Ariel Berger had already asked, and I had already explained, he had minor speech delays before this had sustained.
Right. So
Yeah.
you would agree that the minor speech delay he already had, it has nothing to do with this incident with Bailey, correct?
Yes, has nothing to do with it.
And you're suffering from a lot of trauma from the issues concerning the father and obviously the incident with Bailey, correct?
Can you repeat that again?
You're suffering from a lot of trauma in the last couple of years, not just from this incident, but from the issues concerning the father of the child, correct? No?
Sure, I'll judge. What's the relevance?
What's the relevant?
Mr. Mawad, Ms. Berger has objected as to relevance.
The relevancy, she's talking about mental anguish in her mind about some opinions that she just gave regarding Bailey And I'm trying to argue there's bias and there's credibility issues with her because quite frankly, one of the reasons is she's afraid that her son's not going to, or Mr. Schmidt, or that Bailey's not gonna allow Schmidt to see her kids. And what I want to get into, and I'm not gonna spend a lot of time with it, is basically some of her thought process regarding some of the mental anguish, not being because of what happened with the child, but because of what's going on with the father also. That's all.
I'm not sure she needs to get into her personal trauma and anguish in order to demonstrate her bias.
That's
I-
fair,
I-
Judge.
I'll say
Obviously,
something.
that's fine, Judge. All right, so one of the questions I have too, you really didn't like Bailey at all when she was
I
taken care
never
of.
knew her.
Okay, but you had some issues with her, meaning you didn't care for her, right?
The only issue that I had was that I did not know the woman who was taking after my kids. Even after the multiple times that I had asked, I had even said, hey, let's have a sit down. We were face to face numerous of times and there was nothing that has ever been said.
That's what I needed to know. I appreciate it, and I want to thank you for answering my questions, okay?
Do you have a redirect?
A little bit, thank you, Judge. Elizabeth, you stated that, not that you think Bailey will keep BS away from your children, but you're afraid that they just won't be able to see each other.
Mindfully, how easily would that be? Sorry, I'm a little razzle dazzled.
Right.
Respectfully, I couldn't stomach seeing her all the time. I couldn't. And I'm not speaking for just myself, but how would that make her feel as well? I know it's hard enough me coming in here and just looking up at the computer and seeing her. I'm saying for, yes, you're right, my own anguish, I don't think it's appropriate. I really don't think it's at all appropriate, because then if anything happens, it's accusation, speculation, and I don't wanna live my life like that. All I was saying is that it's a lot more in his best interest already. It was nothing about she'd keep him away from me and my kids. It was already done and settled in criminal court that we weren't to have any kind of contact like that, even outside. What would that be any difference with siblings? It's not appropriate. She physically, mentally hurt my son, mentally hurt me. And also I do have PTSD that's also been noted, so it's not really even a second guess of a mention. But it's just not appropriate. It's more stimulating also to those who have been through trauma, and it shouldn't have to be a fight that I should have to do.
I understand, thank you.
Recross, Ms. Thomas?
No, Judge.
Mr. Mawad?
No, Judge, thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. You may return to your seat.
Thank you.
Any other witnesses, Ms. Berger?
Yes, Your Honor, Glenn Rowe.
I'll have him state and spell his name when he gets.
My name is Glenn Rowe,
Could you spell it?
GLENNROWE.
Thank you, sir. Please raise your right hand. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
There's a step to be careful.
Can you hear me okay, Glenn?
Probably not, but I'll do my best.
Okay. How do you know the parties in this case?
I'm a grandfather, the grandchildren in both cases, and I'm the father of Aaron. Elizabeth was my ex-daughter-in-law, but I still consider her like a daughter. And Bailey was our son's fiance, according to what they put on Facebook.
And when your son and Bailey were together, did they come to like events, like family occasions, holidays, things like that?
Yes,
Okay. And how long were they together, if you know?
they had been together for, well, quite some time, almost a year.
And were they coming to family events that whole time?
Not in the beginning, no. We had the other 3 children placed with us. And I'm trying to say, we had the other 3 children placed with us. What was your question?
Yeah, when did they start coming to like family events?
We finally got to see them at Thanksgiving for the first time. Braden was born in August. We didn't even know he existed.
So Thanksgiving of what year?
2021.
2021, okay. And did they bring Braden with them?
Yes.
Okay. And how did that holiday go? Were there any issues, any concerns?
No, not really. We didn't have the other three kids there, and she didn't have her other child there. So it was just Braden and my son and Bailey. And this was our first time meeting Bailey.
You distinguished that there weren't other kids there. Why did you distinguish that?
That there were, weren't.
Correct.
At Thanksgiving, there weren't. And the reason I distinguish that is because in our home at Christmas of 2021, just a month and a half away, basically, the kids were there with Bailey and Aaron, all 4 of Aaron's kids, and myself, my wife's parents, my parents, and Aaron's brother, their uncle, was there, and we were having a great time. It was a joyous time. Kids were running around. It's our second time seeing our grandson, Braden. And the whole time Bailey sat in the couch holding him, would not let him go. She would not let him get down on the floor or anything. We didn't think anything of it. It's her second time being a mother and it's a new baby. So, sometimes parents are overprotective or have worries that might be exaggerated, but over time they go away as the kids get older. And so I didn't think anything of it at first. Would you like me to go on with that?
Yep.
Okay. Food's being cooked, table set, kids running around, gifts being opened, kids screaming. I mean, they had just been in our home for a year, just a couple months prior, and they loved our home. They loved us. It was like a stroll down memory lane for them. As they're running through the house, they had just spent the Christmas before, so we've got the Christmas tree up. They're just out of their minds, happy.
That's right.
Kids on Christmas. The kids, we have 2 living rooms. We have a kid's living room, so Braden's got his own right now. But the 3 kids were always in that room. And they're running around the house though. They're coming over and talking to great grandma and grandpa, and talking to different people. And I just noticed out of the corner of my eye, Bailey's just still sitting over there quiet all by herself holding Braden. And after some time, I noticed as I walk in there and start interacting with other people in the same living room by the same couch, that she's got tears coming out of her eyes and her face is very red. And I asked her if she was okay. And she says, no, it's just allergies. Yes, it's just allergies. I went to Aaron and asked Aaron, Bailey all right? She doesn't seem okay. Aaron comes into the middle of the living room with me standing there, goes over, talks to Bailey. Bailey stands up with Braden still in her hands, wraps her arms around Aaron and starts crying. I'm like, okay, this isn't just allergies. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, this is just allergies. And I'm standing right there as this interaction is taking place.
Hey, Your Honor, look, I'm not sure what this testimony and where it's going. And I got to be honest with you. If this is just a bash Bailey and it's got nothing to do with the actual determination of the best interest, I would object to it. So I'm not sure where this testimony is going or what it's going to be used for. I just haven't heard anything yet other than bashing Bailey. That's it. What's the relevance?
Everything.
Just hang on one second. I have to let the attorney settle
Sorry.
that. I understand.
The mental state of all the parties involved is relevant to determine the best interest of the minor child. And if Mr. Rowe is painting a picture for the court to show her mental state at that time, I think that it's relevant.
So what year are we talking about? 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago? It's still not relevant. What are we doing here?
All right, hang on, one at a time, please.
Sorry.
That's all right. I was mostly talking to the people in our courtroom. We had a little comment come through that you must not have been able to hear. That's all right. Any further argument on this point?
I can ask him to speed it along.
I think it probably goes more to weight than admissibility. If I'm looking at termination and the environments between the 2, I do think that her mental state and observations of parenting are relevant. And clearly she's also got the right to show that she's had her classes and courses and improved those skills as well. So I'm gonna allow the testimony, but I will take you up on your offer to ask him to move it along.
Sorry.
Thank you, Judge.
I've had
Thank
5 hours of sleep in the last 48 hours, and I've been dealing with this for 4 years. The attorney in this matter for Bailey is not aware of what we've been through. So I would ask for some respect.
Well, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to object. I'd do the same thing. So cut to the chase. What concerns do you have?
During that conversation, Aaron turned to me while he's letting go of her and says she's been dealing with anxiety and she's having an anxiety attack.
Is that the only time you witnessed something like that?
No, it's not.
When other times have you witnessed something like
Well, me personally, I did not witness it. My wife did, and you'd have to talk to her.
that? Okay.
You'd have to ask her. But the point being is, this became a big, huge deal because then Aaron, the father, she was saying she was having anxiety because of the kids screaming so loud, specifically Isabella, my granddaughter. She was in the other room screaming, and this was supposed to be causing Bailey at the other end of the house to have an anxiety attack. She told Aaron she wouldn't put him on the floor because she was afraid the kids were gonna step on him, which is again her choice. But then Aaron turns around and pulls my granddaughter into the bedroom and punishes her because she upset Bailey and was making her cry because she was having an anxiety attack over the kids screaming. Now my grandkids are being punished because she's having a mental health crisis at a house full of 9 adults and 4 children. She was not the sole care provider for those kids at that holiday. Why was she having such a mental health breakdown? I don't know, but it raised concern for me. And 3 months later, my grandson was beat. 3 months later, how does that have anything to do with it? Because 3 months later, she beat my grandson. I saw the warning flags that Christmas, but I didn't know her. It was my second time meeting her. How was I to determine that she was a danger to my grandchildren? And I had nobody to talk to, but I didn't know what to do with that. I just held on to that information. But when she beat him 3 months later, I knew right then something was wrong.
How has the incident that happened in March of 2022, the incident that hurt Jonah, how has that affected you?
I just been through it.
Well, hold on, Judge, hold on. If I'm understanding the question is, how has this affected him? And if that's the question, I think I'm hearing it right. What relevance does that have anything to do? How that has affected him? I'm objecting. Sorry.
Well, Judge, he's placement of a minor child, so I think it directly affects him in that manner. But also, it goes to show how these acts have affected more than just the minor child that they were perpetrated against, but this entire family. And how do we evaluate what's best for a child without evaluating the effects that brought him into care, what they have caused the family to go through?
The effects have no equation into the determination or the outcome of what's going to happen with this child and Bailey. There is no equation here. There's nothing in the law, nothing in the standard, nothing that I've seen that takes that into consideration. Other than bashing Bailey, I'm objecting. It's not relevant, nor is it a part of the equation to make the determination in the end.
I think it's relevant because this is all connected to the child who's in the middle of this. So if I'm being asked to allow this child to stay where he's at or send him back to stay with his mother, the dynamics of his relationship that he has now with his family and his mother, and the dynamics of that home and how he would be potentially affected with the change in that, whether or not he'd be able to even maintain those relationships, is also relevant. So for that reason, I am listening, and it is relevant.
Thank you, Judge.
But-
Appreciate it.
But
Thank
not,
you.
but not as far as the personal insults towards Bailey. You can trust me to sift that out.
I hear you, Judge. And that's what I was going to say. I trust you're going to sift through what you want or need, and then everything else is probably not relevant. But thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yes. All right, so you may answer the question. Or you may repeat the question for him.
Yes, please.
Yes. How has this affected you? How has the incident that occurred in March of 2022 affected you?
I've lived in fear, not just since then. I've lived in fear since 2020, when we had the other kids placed with us. I'm a grandparent. I'm a victim in this too. That's how it's relevant. I'm tired of being treated just as a foster parent by this system, by this court. My wife's a mother and a grandmother of these 4 children. Jonah, who was beat, and BS, to have, I know he's doing his job. I know, I get it. But to have somebody sit there and take my time after 4 years and challenge any relevance to everything I say is his job, but it's not. It can show some professionalism and respect.
So
It's
you-
affected me because I have
Your Honor, hold on. Your Honor, look, the court's known me not a lot or not very well. I don't need to sit here and listen to this. I think it's uncalled for, And he needs to be directed, in my opinion, to just stick to the questions and quit trying to attack me. That's all I'm asking for, all right?
I've already said it's impacted me. It'll impact me for the rest of my life. This past 4 years, how I've had to live in fear every day for my grandchildren.
So there's been some negative impacts, right?
Extreme. I have people coming into my home that we put all of our emotions on the back burner and allowed Bailey's family into our home for Braden's best interest, not ours. We could be full of emotions and anger and hate and turn them away. We were verbally attacked by them in this very parking lot, Bailey's grandparents, the day she was first arrested in this parking lot. Courts have camera record, they can see it, it's the truth. And that's where Bailey's gonna go after she's out of jail, and that's where my grandson's gonna go. People that attacked us in the parking lot, verbally, trying to accuse our son that it was him that did it, while we were just trying to comfort them and talk to them. And since then, we've allowed them into our home. We never took anything they did personally. We know they're victims in this. We know they didn't expect or want to believe and still don't believe that Bailey did this. But I have to live in fear that what this court decides is going to decide the rest of the life of my grandchild. And do I think for 1 minute, as Elizabeth said, if they get hurt, that I'm going to be allowed to see my grandson? I can't speculate and say, but I really highly doubt it. It's going to be hard, just like Elizabeth said, for me to have to go and see Bailey. I'm not a parent, foster parent only, I'm a relative.
And you've had contact with Elizabeth throughout the pendency of this case, right?
Yes,
And how has that gone?
it's gone well. We've actually, our relationship's begun to heal. It took some time because we had him for a year and there's a lot of emotions and anger and blame going around and lack of trust.
You had her 3 children, right?
What's that?
You had her 3 children.
We had her 3 children.
And have you been able to facilitate sibling visits with all of the
Yes.
kids?
Yes,
And how did those go?
they went well. They all got along great. Braden just jumped in right like he was one of the siblings. You wouldn't even know they didn't know each other. Partially because he's so young, he just, any kids running around and they all just run around all the time at that age.
Have you had any contact with Aaron lately?
None. Haven't talked to him since before I testified in this court against him.
And that would have been at his termination hearing or prior?
It was prior that I testified. Oh, you mean prior? It was prior to when I testified again, regarding some of his behaviors. That would have been around March or April or something.
Have you observed any other concerns with parenting with either Aaron or?
Aaron was doing good. He was literally almost reunified. Courts already know that. We were totally shocked and flabbergasted when they just went AWOL, so to speak, made some bad decisions. We love him. He's our son. We miss him. His children miss him. He's not even had his rights terminated to the other 3, and he doesn't even, I don't know what's wrong with him, or now he's starting a new relationship. Doesn't seem to learn from his, and the courts already know he had a traumatic brain injury accident with a traumatic brain injury. There's no need to beat that dead horse and try to give him all the excuses in the world because of that. It did impact him. Just like nobody here can argue, unless they're a medical professional expert, that what Jonah experienced is not going to affect him for the rest of his life in some capacity.
Have you been able to witness any changes in him yourself?
In Jonah,
Yes.
holy, I had a 20-some page letter, and in there it contains it. If I may reference it, it talks just about that.
You can look at your notes, but don't read like verbatim from it, okay?
Oh, that's interesting. Not challenging anything, just other people were on January 29th allowed to read their letters.
You can look at it.
And they were great grandparents.
Look at it.
They read straight from it, right here in this court. If I may have a minute to find it. How have I seen Jonah? P.S. While I'm looking for that, all 4 children, all 5 children were there that day. May I go back and really share this as far as how this has impacted me? Because this is what I really wanted to say. Something along this lines.
Sure.
I'm sure if Mr. Mawad or anybody else has an objection, they'll let you know.
Our first time we saw the 3 kids after they were reunified with mom was at Chuck E. Cheese. Mom met us there with the 3 kids at a Chuck E. Cheese, and we had not seen Jonah since this all happened. At first, all we had to go off of was what Aaron and Bailey told us as they gave us Braden into our care. We're some of the first people they told the story to as to what they said happened or claimed happened to Jonah.
When was this at Chuck E. Cheese?
My wife's the calendar. I'm sure she has it in her phone. It was 4 or 5 months. It was in the spring of 2022.
Okay.
Jonah was totally different. We just had him in our home for a year, 3 months prior. Or not 3 months, a few months prior. It might have been 4 or 5, but I had never seen Jonah like this. He could not sit still. He would not stop running. We were there for about 2 or 3 hours. My wife, myself, and Elizabeth had to take turns with him specifically, and we're not able to spend all that time together with all of them. Braden was there, so we took turns with Braden as well, but Jonah would literally, you'd go with him. You'd put a coin in a machine for him, and he would literally not even play it. He'd just take off and run to the next one, and he did this for 2 hours. He tried to take off and run out of the building. This isn't just a typical reaction that he had while he was in our home. It was a totally different reaction. He wouldn't tell you if he had to go to the bathroom. He'd just sit there and mess himself.
Would he used to give indicators that he needed to?
Yes, oh yeah, he would give us indicators and let us know. He struggled with a lot of gas pains and things while he was in our care. That's all in the old record. It's been noted by the caseworkers and everything. But he had never exhibited behaviors like this. I couldn't get him to hug us. I couldn't get him to interact with us closely. By the end of Chuck E. Cheese, he was willing to let us give him a hug. But at first, you could tell he was totally having issues with social interaction.
Was he like that before?
A little, but not to the extreme severe he was then.
Have you noticed any other changes in him?
I don't live with them, so I don't see what happens at night, like Elizabeth said. I don't get to observe that. We've been so focused on Braden, and she says she's busy. We're also busy, but we have a relationship, and they do see their siblings. We were supposed to get together this Easter. It just didn't work out. But I personally don't get the opportunity to see him that much to observe a whole lot other than what I observed that day. When I see him at our house, it's the same way. When he does come to our house with Christmas toys and everything like it, he does the same thing. Can't even focus on the toy he has. He's just constantly just wanting, like, he'll just run off on the playground. You take him to the playground, he just takes off. It's like he has no idea where he's at, what he's doing. And that was not him before. He'd sit on the couch next to me, put my arm around him as we're watching TV.
When they were placed with you during that year, that was placed through CPS or through DHHS?
Yes.
Were they evaluated through early on or
Yes.
early intervention? Was he receiving any services through any of those programs?
Speech therapy, occupational therapy for his motor skills. He had been tested at U of M for autism. And they found that while he had a few learning deficits, he was not autistic.
And that was all he was in your care?
Yes, we took him there without prompting from anybody, no caseworkers, we did it on our own. The kids were going through trauma. They just been pulled from their mom and dad and put with us.
Changing gears a little bit, how would you say your bond is with Braden now?
I'm dad. He chose that.
Does he call you that?
Yes, he does. Every morning, one of the first things, Dad. And if I don't respond, on the wall, he'll knock on the wall because his bedroom door is closed. I look forward to that every morning. I used to get to sleep in. And now if I don't come and my wife comes to get him, once she gets him up, he'll come to the baby gate we have by our bedroom door. Dad, start banging on the wall with a car. And so I can't sleep in. And I love it though. It's a joy to wake up to a happy baby that wants me in his life and looks up to me. I'm nobody special. I make mistakes. I'm not perfect, but I love that child. And I fear what this court's decision is going to be and how it's going to impact him. I fear extremely.
Why are you afraid?
His biological mother beat him. She beat him she didn't call for help. She knew months before Aaron got the kids that Aaron was going to be reunified at some point with the children. She was prepared for it mentally. She knew it was coming. And when it came, she only had him 50% of the time, as Elizabeth said, and as this court knows. It was 50-50 custody. So even from the time she got reunification, or Aaron got, anyways, from from the time she got reunification, from the time Erin got reunification is what I'm trying to say, in December. She knew during those 3 months before she did what she did, she was only seeing the kids 50% of the time. 50% of the time, she didn't have the other 3 kids in her care. She only had BS or Braden or her other son. I don't remember, I know his name, but I don't know his last name. And we were told that she always had help from the grandparents. So she had time during those weeks. She didn't have those other 3 kids to realize if she could handle them or not. She had time to ask for help. She had time to let people know that she was not doing well handling all 5 kids. She never asked for help. She just chose what she did instead.
I don't have any other questions for you, but some of the other attorneys might, okay?
Thomas?
I have no questions.
Mr. Malott?
No questions, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. That's all right. Well, Ms. Berger, anyone else you'd like us to hear from this afternoon?
Do you want to testify? Sure. Tanya Road.
Do you need her name, Your Honor?
That would be great. Tanya Rowe, TONYA ROWE. Thank you.
You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
How do you know the parties in this case?
Well, I know BS because he's my grandson. I know Aaron because he's my son. Bailey was, from what my understanding from my son, was going to be his wife. They were engaged. And then, of course, I know Elizabeth because she was married to my son. She is his ex-wife. And of course, the other 3 kids were from them. They were married. Who am I missing? Everybody else?
You heard your husband testify, right?
Correct.
And is there anything that you want to add that he maybe didn't testify to, or things that you've witnessed personally?
The only thing I want to add, I'm not trying to bash anybody. This certainly is only an observation of what I observed of Bailey, and I'm not bashing her. It is the truth. I am here under sworn testimony. On April 24th, I think that was the date, if I'm correct. It was a supervised visit. Pauline Edwards was the supervisor. I was the one who took Braden to his supervised visits with Bailey. And during that visit, I witnessed Bailey almost have a breakdown that day. And this is how it happened. Pauline Edwards was sitting in the back of the room. Supervised visits were at DHHS in Adrian, Michigan, in Illinois County. And she was, Pauline Edwards was in the back of the room facing this way. And I was coming into the room because it was time for Braden to leave from his supervised visit with Bailey. I was always the one that took him and picked him up, dropped him off, and picked him up at supervised visits. It seemed like everything was going well that day. Didn't seem like anything was, abnormal, supervised. Pauline was in the back. Bailey was getting Braden's coat. She was facing towards me. The coat hanger was here on the left. And she had Braden in her arms. He was turned around, faced towards Pauline. His face was towards Pauline. She was trying to get his coat on him. And of course, he was squirming. He's a little kid. He was, squirming, and he, didn't want to go. It was kind of like, kids will be kids. He's young. And she was having a hard time, and she kept gripping him. Her face turned red. She kept gripping him tighter and tighter and saying, "It's okay." And I'm like, that's like what she did in 2021. And it reminded me of how they're saying she's, going towards all this change with her anxiety or whatever she has in her diagnosis. But that to me was a red flag that she still needs something else, because that was scary to me.
What year was that?
That was, she had the visitation in 2020, I want to say 2022, I don't have my calendar. I think it was 2022. Yeah, it was 2022.
Was it right before?
Because
her
it was
visit?
right before she had her termination. Yeah, it was May of 2022, let me see.
Could have been 2023
Or
last year.
2023, yeah, last year. Sorry, we're in 24 already.
And what about you? What's your bond with Braden like?
Braden, ever since we've got him at 7 months, he is just such a joy. I went from a grandparent of Braden to a mother of Braden. He calls me mommy. And he is just such a joy every day. Take him to his schooling, and just care for him every day and love him. And he has just really grown to call me mom. and we just have a great connection, and I just love
Is there anything else on that?
That's all I really had, that I can think of, just that, I do have some concerns with Bailey and that her care, and I'm not trying to bash her. I just really, truly, from one mother to another mother, hope that she gets the help that she needs. But I just don't see how reunification could happen this time. That's just my personal opinion.
I don't have any other questions for you, but the other attorneys might, okay?
Ms. Demos,
I have none, thank you.
Mr. Mawad,
Look, I appreciate your honesty, and you've developed a really nice bond with the child, right? As if the child's your own son, correct?
Correct.
And you really.
He is, he's my grandson and my son, yes.
Right, and that's admirable for both you and grandfather, and I don't disagree with that. You are afraid, though, that if, I don't know what's gonna happen with the court, but if Bailey does have some type of reunification, and again, I don't know what the court's gonna do, you're just afraid that you're not gonna be able to see this child much or anymore, and you've developed a really loving relationship with the child, correct?
I have developed a really loving, I never said anything about being afraid of not being able to see him. I have developed a relationship with the grandmother, so I'm sure that I'm not afraid of that
Okay.
at all. What I'm
That's
afraid
fair.
of is that she will beat him. That's what I'm afraid of. And then I won't see him because he will be dead. That's what I'm afraid of.
Ma'am, human beings, there's a lot of people that have committed crimes, right? In the past?
Yeah, she's one of them.
Well, and some of them are your friends, right? Some people that are either friends or relatives that have committed crimes, correct?
I don't know any friends or relatives of mine that have did this. I'm sorry, I don't.
Well, hold on, that's not my question. You know people or have heard of people that you know in your circle that have committed crimes and admitted to it, correct?
In my circle? I don't know.
Yeah.
I've
You
heard
don't
them
know
on
anybody?
TV and I've seen them, but no, they're not in my circle.
All right, so are you under the proposition, or is your opinion that anybody that commits a crime, at least in this situation, has no rights to the child ever again? Is that your
I
thought
never
process?
said that. I said she's not ready.
Okay,
I never
but,
said that she could never have a kid again and love that kid. She's not ready now.
okay, but how do you know that? You aware of all of the services she's obtained in the last so long that she has obtained?
Caitlin just sat right here and said that she does not have all the services that she needs, sir. So it's not just me saying it, it's DHHS Lenawee County saying it, sir.
Well, no, that's not what Caitlin said, but I'm not gonna argue with you. You understand that Bailey has received services, correct? From
She's received
DHHS.
some services, but they cannot give her all services. I've heard that.
Okay, so if, and I'm not saying there is going to be a reunification, she can continue her services when she gets out of jail, right? Any
Your
issues
Honor,
with
if I
that?
can check, I don't know what knowledge placement would have of continued services that would be offered to a parent through DHHS through reunification.
Right, that's my point. If there's reunification, there's still gonna be some type of supervision with CPS. Are you aware of that?
Yes,
Okay, so are you saying that Bailey could never be a mother to this child ever again?
I'm saying right now at this time, even with supervised visits, there was an incident that happened that put up a red flag. So that makes me leery on whether she's changed or not. And it would be a
So-
long time before she could change. And that would be longer time braided away from her and closer to us.
So if my father, being a very old country man when growing up, hit us as part of discipline, either with a belt or with his hands, and I'm just giving an example. And the relationship I've had with him for 92 years before he passed away was still wonderful. Are you saying that a disciplinary person, or they could never, ever, ever have a relationship? In this case, Bailey could never have a relationship with this young man, ever.
Your Honor, I don't think we can argue that what happened to JS was discipline.
I'm not arguing that. It's still a hit. So well, here's my question. Let me rephrase it, Judge. Are you saying that Bailey, in your opinion, can never be a mom to this child?
I never said that.
Okay, that's all I wanted to
She's-
clarify. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
redirect?
No.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you so much.
Any other witnesses, Ms. Berg?
Not today, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, very well. Closing comments as it relates to the review, we'll obviously be continuing the trial into our next review.
Judge, we heard a lot today, and I think that it's very helpful to hear from others that are hands-on providing care for the kiddos.
Wait a minute. If I'm hearing this right, council has had plenty of opportunity to call witnesses with all the various hearings we've had. Now she decides to bring in 2 witnesses, and if I'm hearing her right, she wants more witnesses to come in and testify?
Mr. Mawad, my understanding of the reason to continue the trial was to allow your client to undertake a psychological evaluation. Would you prefer I made the decision today?
No, I'm not disagreeing with that. I thought I just heard that council has more witnesses.
No.
I might.
Well, first of all, Mr. Mudd, I'm not the one who called anyone. So your issue is not with me. That can be with Ms. Berger. I'm simply saying that I appreciate having other people here to testify who are actually providing care to the children. That was my position.
Okay, then I did not hear you correctly over Zoom. I heard a voice and I didn't know who it was. I thought it was Ms. Berger who said, and I apologize, that said that I'm going to have more witnesses. So that was my objection. I'll take the objection back. My apologies to the bench and my apologies to everybody else in the courtroom.
Thank you, Mr. Mawad. Yeah, this is just closings as far as the review for today, review of permanency planning hearing, and then we're continuing the trial into the next review period. And Ms. Thomas is going to start us off with her closing comments, then we'll go with you, and lastly to the GAL for any recommendations she may have between now and when we come in.
So as I was saying, I think it's helpful to have that information from the caregivers, and I can appreciate it. Typically, I wouldn't sit here and allow testimony about children that are not under, I wouldn't not object to testimony about children who are not under our jurisdiction, or not object to testimony that happened before this review period. With that being said, I sat here quietly and listening because I do think that, Mr. Mawad's objections were valid, and I think that Ms. Berger's arguments were also valid. And this court must consider the record as a whole, as this is one proceeding. And I know that we are not arguing today on the termination of the termination petition, but I think that the testimony presented today dictates that adoption continues to be the best goal for this child, that the reasonable efforts put forth for this family need to be directed at adoption. I know that that could be upsetting to other people that are personally involved and may have strong emotions or opinions about that. But for this kiddo who has been in care since he was 7 months old and has only known one environment, at this point in time, there is no compelling reason to reconsider that goal. And that's where we are statutorily in our timeframes. So for that reason, I am going to ask, I think that it's important that we have all the information. I want to give Ms. Damansky her due process and allow that second psychological opinion to come through. But Judge, it's very hard to make any other argument at this point. I know that we're going to allow another review period, and I hope that it's not to the detriment of this child in the long run. Thank you.
Comments, Mr. Mawad?
No, not at this point, Judge. If you don't mind, I would defer until we see what happens with the psychological.
Ms. Berger?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just as far as the review and permanency planning hearing, I am in agreement with the agency. I do think that we need to see the results of that second psychological. It's not a secret or surprise that I've been asking for termination, I think probably for over a year at this point in this case. So that's what I'm going to continue to advocate for. I do believe it's in the best interest of the child at this point. And I would ask that we have a trial date as soon as possible. Thank you.
Well, while we're talking about dates, I would like to offer to you the afternoon of July 23rd at 1:30. Next review, permanency planning hearing, and the remaining.
That's fine.
Very well. As it relates to today, and I didn't wait for Ms. Thomas to confirm that. There you go.
No.
That's okay. So all interested parties were given notice for purposes of today's hearing. There are reasonable efforts being made towards the goal of adoption, which means continuing to monitor the child for any services, to monitor as a dual and secondary goal, Ms. Damansky's progress on any services in her case, and obviously that referral for psychological evaluation. So the department is certainly in satisfaction of their obligations, as is Ms. Berger, as an advocate and guardian ad litem. Thank you. Thank you. In this case, at this juncture, the child has been removed over 2 years as of March 26th, 2022. we have concerns on the issue of whether or not there's been a benefit to the services that Ms. Damansky has undertaken. Part of that, frankly, is not for lack of effort, I think, but simply understanding better challenges that she faces. And I think that psychological evaluation, hopefully we'll be able to give us some insight into that as well. And we'll be able to hopefully get a better idea of what that looks like for her moving forward. And I have to balance that with the concerns expressed by the department as well as the guardian ad litem on permanency and stability. This child is accustomed to being in this home clearly and is growing rapidly and bonding very strongly. For those reasons and the reasons expressed by Ms. Thomas and Ms. Berger, I will agree that adoption remains the appropriate goal in this case. There's been a significant delay in the termination trial, but that has really been at the request of Ms. Damansky and the credit of the advocacy of Mr. Mawad on her behalf in asking for those and asking for more services, and to the credit of the department for continuing to facilitate those opportunities for her. But nevertheless, we have to look at the age of the case, and adoption is the appropriate goal at this time for this child. We'll come back and revisit that with the conclusion of the trial in conjunction with our next review and permanency hearing. In the meantime, the child will remain placed with his family members. That is the safest and least restrictive under the circumstances. Ms. Damansky obviously remains in the care and custody of the Illinois County Jail. Her anticipated release date is prior to our next review hearing. We still have the termination trial pending. There's been a significant break in any contact she's had with her child. And at this point, that suspension of hearing time is going to remain in place until we come back and resolve the testimony as it relates to the trial. And Mr. Aaron Schmidt's rights have been terminated, so he's not available nor advocating for himself or reunification. If there's any questions, that's really all for today. There's not much for me to say at this juncture.
Thank you.
As this hearing came to a close, the court chose not to make a final decision on terminating parental rights. Instead, the judge kept adoption as the permanency goal while allowing additional time for the second psychological evaluation to be completed and reviewed before the next hearing. The case illustrates one of the most difficult responsibilities family courts face: balancing a parent's efforts toward rehabilitation with a child's need for stability, safety, and permanency. Throughout the hearing, the court focused on what it determined to be in the child's best interests while leaving the ultimate outcome unresolved. Family court proceedings like this demonstrate how decisions involving children are often made over multiple hearings, with judges carefully considering updated evaluations, testimony, and the child's long-term welfare before reaching a final ruling. Subscribe to follow this case and see what happens at the next court hearing, where the judge will review the psychological evaluation and decide whether Bailey Damansky's parental rights will be terminated or if the case takes a different direction.